out of the 5 people that are 1 degree removed from this person would be obese, so 40%. If you go out 2 degrees removed, and there are, let's say, 15 people there, because each of these people is in turn connected to 2 or 3 other people, in expectation, you would expect 40%, or 6 out of 15 people, to be obese. And if you go out 3 degrees removed, let's say there are 25 people in that shell of the onion, you might expect 10 of 25 people to be obese, so 40%. So if obesity were randomly distributed through a network, and you had a fixed topology, the topology means the architecture of the ties, you would expect that every degree removed from an obese individual, that 40% of them, the population prevalence, would be obese. Okay? On the other hand, if there was some clustering of obesity, what you would find is that if you had one obese individual, if you went out 1 degree removed, maybe 3 out of 5, or 60% of them would be obese. 2 degrees removed, 7 out of 15, or maybe 50% of them would be obese. And 3 degrees removed, let's say 8 out of 25, or 32% of them would be. You have this notion of, imagine this kind of socio-topological space, this kind of fabric of humanity. And you have these kind of local maxima and minima of obese individuals, and non-obese individuals. So like you reach a peak, you have someone who's overweight, and then you fall down into the valleys in this socio-topological space where people at the floors of the valleys are not obese or are non-obese. So you have this clustering that occurs within the network. And what you can do to actually generate statistical tests here is you take the observed network, the topology, you fix it, you just sort of fix it in time. Then you take the observed prevalence of obesity, and you randomly distribute it through the network at random. You make which nodes are obese or not at the prevalence. And you do that thousands of times so you can create a distribution of random BMI networks, and you test the hypothesis that the observed distribution differs or is more different than expected due to chance alone, based on your sampling statistics that you make through the permutations. Now, and when we do this kind of thing, what we find is the following. This shows the size of the obesity clusters in our network. This shows the relative increase in the probability that an ego is obese given that an alter is obese. So this asks the following question. If you know my obesity status, does that give you information about the obesity status of my friends, my friends' friends, my friends' friends' friends? How far away from me do you have to get before there's no longer any relationship between what's happening to me and the people that I'm connected to, either directly or indirectly? And what we find is that 1 degree removed, there's a 40% excess risk from an obese individual. And I should say, everything I'm discussing applies equally to the spread of non-obesity and obesity. They're all symmetric, the effects, but I'm phrasing them in terms of obesity. There's a 40% excess risk that individuals 1 degree removed from me are obese, more than chance alone. 20% on average, this is across the ways, but you can ignore that. 20% excess risk, 2 degrees removed. 10% excess risk, 3 degrees removed. My obesity, knowledge about whether I'm obese or not, is still related to the obesity status of people that are 3 degrees removed from me. People I might never have met and not even know. My friends' friends' friends, if you knew whether or not they were obese, that has some association with whether or not I'm obese. You have to go out 4 degrees removed before there's no longer any relationship between my obesity status and the obesity status of my friends. So when you see similarities in behavior or in health status or in attributes in social contacts, it begs the question, what causes it? What causes these clusters? Well, there are at least 3 different kinds of things that could cause them. The first is what's known as homophily, and that's just the tendency of birds of a feather to flock together. When our paper came out, we were misunderstood by many blogs. That it was like 10,000 blogs featured our work, and a lot of them didn't understand that they said, well, it's obvious. Of course, people choose to hang out with individuals with similar habits and similar body size, which is true, they do. But of course, we had thought of this, and it's known as homophily. So one possible explanation of the clustering is homophily, the preferential formation of individuals. Another possible explanation is confounding. So why do Bert and I, let's say, have a similar body size? It's not because we choose to befriend each other because we have a similar body size. It might be that a McDonald's opens up nearby and makes us both gain weight simultaneously. So there's not really a causal relationship between our weight gain. And a third possibility is the one we're most interested in today, which is induction. That is to say, my weight gain actually causes his weight gain. There's some sense in which what I do influences what he does. Now, we used a variety of statistical and conceptual approaches to get a handle on this problem in our setting. Incidentally, when the publicity about the paper came out that Juliet alluded to, what was amazing to me is the ways in some of the headline writers wrote the headlines. It was, we were grossly misunderstood that we were suggesting you should ditch your fat friends or something were some of the headlines. Or some of the other headlines suggested, gaining weight. This was the New York Times headline, I think, packing it on, blame your friends. And what I found almost singularly American about this perspective is that nowhere was it mentioned that, are your friends gaining weight? You might be responsible. It was never that you might cause your friends to gain weight. It was always your friends are causing you to gain weight. It was always kind of an inbound and very conveniently sort of self-exculpatory kind of explanation. The other thing that was very interesting to me about the coverage was that it was sort of bifurcated. The European press sort of thought, oh my God, this is so typically American, yet another way that the individual is not responsible for what's happening to them. There's people around them are responsible. The domestic coverage was a little bit more, buck up, ignore these pernicious influences, you're the relevant actor and the like, picking up a little bit on what Juliet was suggesting. Well, we can exploit the temporality of our data, the fact that we have repeated measures, to begin to gain some insight into this phenomenon, to sort out homophily from confounding and induction. This is a little video I'm going to show you now in a moment. Seeing this video was one of the most exciting moments of my scientific career, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. What this video shows is the largest connected subcomponent of the network, 2,200 people. The size of the nodes is proportional to people's BMI. The red perimeter nodes are women, and the blue perimeter nodes are men. Here we only show non-genetic ties. So adjoining connected nodes share no genes in common. The gray interactions are spouses. So for instance, this overweight woman is married to this relatively normal weight man. And the purple ties are friendship ties. So this is this guy's best friend over here that are connected here. OK? Everyone with me still? All right. And in a minute, I'm going to put this network into motion. We're going to take daily cuts through the network for 30 years, looking every single day at the network. And you're going to see people gaining and losing weight. People are going to be born and die. Ties are going to form and disappear across time. And when we made this video, it literally took us like $1 million and 5 years to get to this. And I'm sitting there with James Fowler, and we're going to look at this video. And I'm so excited. And here's why. Because my original fantasy when we did this work was that we would be able to see, you guys remember like high school physics where you did those experiments where you took a still pond of water, a tub of water, and you dropped a rock in it, and then these ripples of water spread out, and then they hit the edges of the container, and then they spread back, and you studied interference, how you get wave interference, and how you get maxima and minima in the surface of the water. So I thought we would be able to see like a ripple of obesity spreading in this network. That as one person gained weight, you'd see this like wave spreading out from this person through this process of social influence. So I gain weight, it makes 1 degree removed, people gain weight, 2 degrees, and so forth. Okay? So we would have this kind of spread within this sociotopological space of wave. And in fact, we might even get local interference, just like the physicists see on the surface of the water. Because the weight gain might spread out from me and then come back to me. And you'd get local maxima and minima, which the anthropologists called culture, right? Little niches within the network, peaks and valleys within this space that have certain ideas about body size or certain body sizes than others that are nearby, okay? So I'm very excited. I'm dying to see this. I want you to see whether you can see a spread of obesity in this network that we made. There's a woman here that's going to gain weight in a minute. Where is she? There she goes. And she's going to move to the center of the network and kind of induce obesity everywhere. And this, I can't freeze frame this, unfortunately, in this description, but you'll see clusters of obese and non-obese individuals at the end of the network. At the end, we're now reaching 2001. We're going to stop in a minute. You can sort of see. Should I show that again? Yeah. All right. I wish I could make it slower. I can't. We're still working on some of this technology. Oh, no, in fact. Exactly. We want to find, yeah, exactly. We wanted to find patient 0 of the obesity epidemic, right?